Now that we know how to convert different rational numbers into different forms, say from fraction to decimal or fraction to percent, we're going to talk about comparing and ordering these rational numbers. So rational numbers are your counting numbers or your whole numbers. Okay, they're integers, so they can be positive or negative. All right, they can be decimals or fractions. Now, as far as decimals and fractions go, the decimals need to be terminating or repeating. Okay, so that means that when you have a decimal, it either needs to end without a remainder, say 3/4 equals 0.7575 hundredths, okay, or it needs to be a repeating decimal. For example, 2/9 equals 0.222, and it goes on forever and repeats. So these are both rational numbers. Now an irrational number would be something like pi, where the decimal goes on forever. It doesn't repeat and it doesn't terminate or end up at 0. So rational numbers are all of the numbers that we have been working with so far this year. Those are called rational numbers. Okay? Now when we're comparing and ordering rational numbers of different types, let's say comparing a decimal to a fraction or a fraction to a percent, if they're not in the same form and you have a whole bunch of them, you have to convert them all to one form. Usually people find decimals are the easiest to compare and they convert everything to decimal form. Or you might be lucky and have fractions where it's easy to find a common denominator and you can convert things to fractions. But when we're talking about fractions, sometimes it's very hard to find a common denominator. So the first thing you're going to do when you're comparing and ordering is put them in the same form, let's say decimals. Then you're going to look for positive and negative signs because negatives are always smaller than positives, so we'll know where to put those in order. After we've looked for positive and negative, then we're going to look at the whole numbers part. And you can put things in order according to the whole numbers using the positive or negative. And then once we've done that, we can compare the place values of the decimals. You know, what number has the largest tenths place? And after you've put them in order according to tenths place, then you can move to hundredths place and order according to hundredths place and then thousandths, etc. So here's some examples. If we're ordering -1, -1 and 6/10, 2/5, -1 and 1/4, and -3/8 from least to greatest, the first thing we want to do is convert them all to decimal form. So I already know that these are benchmark fractions that are on your sheet that you're to be studying. So it's going to be easy for me to convert these all to decimals because I know what their decimal form is. So I'm going to end up with -1, -1.6. 2/5 is 4/10. -1 and 1/4 will make -1 and 25 hundredths, -1.25. And -3/8 will make -0.375. I guess I could put the 0 in front of there for you. Okay, so those are all of my numbers up here are now written out in decimal form here, and I can put them back in order. So from least to greatest, the smallest number will be the largest negative number. And the largest negative number here is -1 and 6/10. That's going to be farthest to the left on the number line. So remember when you're doing least to greatest, zero's in the middle. The positive numbers go up, the negative numbers go down. This is least down here. This is greatest up here. So -1.6 is farthest to the left or to the least side on my number line. Next after that, I'm going to cross that one out because I've already used it. Next after that is going to be -1 and 2500ths. So that matches up with -1 and 1/4. So my next number is -1 and 1/4. Cross those out. Those are done. Next is -1 right here. -1. And then -3/8. The negative is still smaller than the positive. So -0.375. And finally, the positive number is the greatest one here, and that is 4/10. Okay, now I have ordered my set from least to greatest. When we're comparing our rational numbers, we're going to use the less than, greater than, or equal to signs. Remember that the pointy part, or the small end, points at the small number. Okay, so once again, we have to put things in decimal form to compare them. 1 and 1/5, I know from my study guide that that should be 1 and 2/10. All right, so if I'm comparing 1 and 2500ths and 1 and 2/10, I compare my whole numbers first. Neither one are negative, so I don't have to worry about that. Now I'm going to compare my whole numbers first. They're both 1s. Since they're the same, I'm going to compare my 10ths spot. They're both 2s. Now, if there is nothing here behind this 2, I can fill it in with a 0 so that I can compare my 100ths spot. So the 1s are the same, the 2s are the same, but when I get to the 100th spot, it's 5 versus 0. The 5 is larger, and so a greater than symbol goes there. All right, 2 and 1/3. I know that 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, 3/10 repeating. And I know that to change a percent to a decimal, my number has to get smaller, so it's going to move to the left 2 times, and that's going to be 2 and 3/10 not repeating. All right, so here's what we have to do here. When I go to compare these 3's, obviously the 2's are the same, neither one is negative, so we move on to the 10th spot. They're the same, so I have to look at the 100th spot, but right now there's nothing there. Well, if I were to fill in the 100th spot, on the 2 and 3/10 I would fill in a 0, but on the 2 and 3/10 repeating, that repeating bar means that a 3 is going to go in this spot instead of a 0, because the 3 repeats forever. Okay, so now when I look at the 100th spot, this 2 and 3/10 repeating is larger than the 2 and 3/10 not repeating. All right, I want you to do the 3/8 on your own. Example 3, Mr. Davis gives each of his 5 students in his science class a different type of leaf. Each student measures the length and records the measurement in his or her ISN. The lengths are recorded here. You're going to list the leaf lengths in order from largest to smallest. Okay, remember on your number line, 0 is here, largest is on the positive end, smallest is on the negative end. You're going to change these to the same form, whether you want to use a common denominator or a decimal percent. It's up to you. Go ahead and do that one. And then also you're going to order these numbers from least to greatest as well. And you're going to find which of the temperatures Frank recorded that is lower than -8. Remember your number line up here. Which one is lower? Finally, I want you to do example 5, where you're ordering the amount of rainfall in inches. You're also going to have to change these to a common form, either fractions, decimals, or percents, in order to put them in order. All right, your assignment will be given to you next class period, and we can talk some more about this then.